And a very good afternoon to everybody out there. This is Vincent Miletti with Miletti Law, the partner, founder, owner of Miletti Law, the strongest name in law, the leader of the unusually motivated movement. The date today is August the 18th, 2021. It's a Wednesday. This video is probably the last video for a little while as it concerns crypto. As you all know, lately, if you've been following a lot of these videos, I've been really heavily into this whole kind of like alternative cryptocurrency kind of movement. The opportunities because the opportunities available are really exciting. I mean, again, we spoke about NFTs where they had opportunities for investment fees, opportunities for fees to be made during the whole minting process, royalty fees, for using particular images and everything down the road. So it's just like, these are just really exciting ways, either A, to make a lot of aggressive affirmative income by pushing, or by even just making a passive income by, sitting there and watching your products and watching your, intellectual property just make its own money. So, I mean, there's just a lot of money to be made on this particular market. So, one of the ideas that's really popular now is something called decentralized finance, or DeFi, decentralized finance, DeFi. So before we move forward, let's just put the title of this video. The title of this video is DE equals FI squared. DE equals FI squared. Decentralized finance simplified. DE equals FI squared. For those of you, that's a reference to, Einstein and relativity, but, whatever. Anywho, so let's get down to it. So DeFi is something really exciting. Essentially, what is it, right? So DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance. This is a system, this is like a financial system in which financial products are made available to the public in a decentralized fashion. So generally, it makes it more open to the marketplace. Here at Miletti Law, we're big on laissez-faire, we're big on free market, we're big on small government. I mean, this kind of like, for those of you who have followed politics for a very long time, the whole end the Fed movement, that was a big Ron Paul and now it's a Rand Paul thing. Those of you who probably know Rand Paul as the guy that keeps just bashing Fauci 24/7 and outsmarting him. But then again, I guess probably not that difficult to outsmart Fauci at this point. But so yeah, so the whole concept behind the decentralized finance, the DeFi movement, is that it brings finance from outside of these pre-existing institutions that have lasted forever. It takes them out and brings them into the open marketplace, and it doesn't centralize financial functions and money, right? So, perfect example, like how decentralized finance, how DeFi kind of like would. Just how it's different off the bat. I mean, go into a bank, right? Bank is a perfect example of centralized finance. Our current system, where you have, let's say, our current system follows what's known as a hub and spoke model. Okay, so you have the hub and you have the spokes. That's just how the model works, right? So look at the Federal Reserve, right? Federal Reserve, and then I think that's like 12 branches, right? 12 spokes with a hub that's the Central Reserve Bank by itself. In the financial industry, the concept that it runs the same way. You'll have places like New York, places like London. These are your hubs. And the remainder of the financial industry spreads out of these hubs through these little spokes, right? So you have hub and spoke, like a tire on a bike. So a perfect example of how that functions, one of the critical functions of the hub and spoke theory is simply government-issued IDs and social security numbers being required to have bank accounts within the centralized industry. So in something like DeFi, where it's decentralized, you don't need that. I mean, they have certain requirements, don't get me wrong, but technically you don't need the historical classic requirements. So so let's just kind of like talk a little bit. First, why, right? What's the theory? So the theory is this, basically, at this point in time, you have a hub and spoke financial system, hub and spoke economy, where you have these centralized, isolated points of power, financial power, like I said, New York, London, and it kind of spreads out. So what's the problem with that, right? So the problem with that, the concept where the issue runs, and you see like the crisis, the financial crisis, the mortgage meltdown, stuff like this. What happens is when these centralized hubs suffer some kind of catastrophe, suffer some kind of problem, essentially everything else around it suffers, right? Because it's hub and spoke. So once the hub fails, the spokes fail, right? So what winds up happening is you start having like pain in places that theoretically you shouldn't have, because they could be running smooth functional operations. So using the house price, for example, right? Not every mortgage of securitized was crap. So, you know, some of them were fantastic, some of them were terrible, you know, but because like the hub created this package that grouped them all together, certain ones that failed on the side wound up dragging down everything. And when the hubs had problems, the spokes had problems, you know? So in a world where things are decentralized, you're decoupling those hubs, you're decoupling the spokes from those hubs, and every single pocket is kind of like its own decentralized financial institution, right? So that from a laissez-faire free market point of view, that is the ultimate, right? Because that's what you want, because that's the market, you know, of its own volition, of with its own finances, its own capitals, accepting all risk, you know, on its own, and making decisions on its own without any involvement. You know, when you're a free market person, and not keeping the politics, like just making one quick comment on the politics of it, you know, when it comes to freedom in the free market, you have the right to buy, the right to try, the right to win, and the right to lose. You can't have one without the other. You try, buy, win, lose. Try, buy, win, fail. You need to have the right to enjoy all of those, even the fail. So, you know, being truly decentralized and decoupled from this, you are your own independent autonomous source. So that's kind of like the concept. The concept is that once we decentralize, we open up opportunities, we open up free market. You truly have control of your own money, do whatever you want to do. I'll go into the pros and cons in, you know, a little bit. So question, you know, so we have the what, right? We have the why. So now we talk about how does this system work, right? So a decentralized financial system works through a series of software and like smart contracts, and obviously the blockchain. Everything is the blockchain, right? Because you need a ledger. Remember, the blockchain, everything functions on a blockchain. Think of the blockchain as a bank ledger, right? Every transaction for this crypto, every transaction for whatever it is on this ledger. This ledger needs to have integrity. It needs to not be spoiled. You know, it needs to maintain its you know, correctness and security and protections, right? So in order for a DeFi system to work, you need you need system software that make it possible to enable, you know, buyers and sellers and traders and just whatever the case is, people moving back and forth within the blockchain system. And then, you know, you need, well, it has something known as like smart contracts, right? So these smart contracts, they govern all transactions in the DeFi system. So in order to qualify to bring your money into the DeFi system, to be able to participate in the DeFi system, you need to agree to certain smart contracts which govern all transactions and relationships going forward. Good thing about this is you agree to the terms in advance. You die on your sword. You either make all your money, you die on your sword, and that's how it works with those. These smart contracts, they provide the framework necessary for the source code. Remember, we spoke about that with the NFTs. You know, each one of these cryptocurrency, not only do you have the blockchain, which has its own ledger, but you have a purely, pure large character, maybe 40 to 50 character source code that can't be that essentially can't be understood. Like, you can't replicate that, right? So it has like, everything has like its own source code, everything has its own integrity, so you basically can follow everything from A to Z, right? So yeah, the smart contracts do things like discuss source code, create automatic liquidation terms if certain elements aren't met, or if they're problems. So that's very important, right? So just to understand a little bit as well, you know, the DeFi system, the concept, it's still growing today, right? So everything's changing, everything's in a little bit of turmoil because it's still building today. In the blockchain, in the DeFi system, you have, if I understand, you have 4 layers. So you have these kind of like, you have the 4-layer DeFi stack is what it's called, right? So that's the settlement layer, the protocol layer, the application layer, and the aggregation layer. We're all familiar from our conversations with NFTs about the settlement layer. That's where we spoke about the public blockchain. We spoke about the, you know, that the unique ledger of the blockchain. We spoke about the native currency, which is, in this situation, the native currency that everybody's familiar with is Ether, and the native chain and the native blockchain is Ethereum. You're all familiar with that because that basically is, find that everywhere. You'll find that in Coinbase, you'll find that, and wherever you'll find like Bitcoin, you'll find like Ethereum, you know? So, yeah, so just going back real quickly before we go into a little discussion, just understand. So you have this DeFi stack, you have your 4 layers. I actually have notes on this one. Are you all impressed? Usually I just jibber jabber. So you have your settlement layer, right? So that's usually known as layer 0, because it's like the very first thing they see. You have your public blockchain, which is your ledger, right? Has everything in your ledger, all the transactions, keeps everything its integrity, maintains its value. You have your native currency. It's going to be everything's going to be going through that Ethereum, that Ether stuff. You have your protocol layer, right? So here's where you'll find your contracts. Here's where you'll find your software protocols, the rules and guidelines of the particular DeFi system. These govern basically every task, transaction. I mean, you need this for stability and functionality and liquidity. So like you cannot have a DeFi system without a strong protocol layer that has all your contracts, agreements, and rules and guidelines in place, which are all publicly developed. Which are all developed through private individuals and smart contracts. There's no government involvement here. So, you know, I mean, it's free. Again, it's free market. I love this. It's free market, right? So there's no government involved in this one. So that's very important to understand. You have 2 more layers. You have your application layer. This is just, this is purely purely consumer facing apps, right? Your particular blockchain wallets. Remember, you can't participate in the blockchain unless you have a blockchain wallet. You have some kind of medium to transfer. DeFi is no different. Same concepts. DeFi is just a little more structured and comprehensive because it's looking to truly, set the tone for this purely decentralized finance system. And then your 4th and final layer is going to be your aggregation layer. So these are your this is what enables the service industry to get involved. People to give loans through this, people to trade crypto, people to liquidate your crypto into actual money, transfer your cryptocurrency into actual dollars and cents that you can actually spend at the store should you want to do that, right? So that would be your final layer, right? So you have your 4 layers. So just to repeat the 4 layers, you have the settlement layer, the protocol layer, the application layer, and the aggregation layer. Okay. So next up, we're just gonna talk about briefly, where you find a lot of these DeFi platforms. Look at a lot of you are probably familiar with Uniswap, Chainlink token, Lunaterra platform, something like Bitcoin Wrap BTC. Guys and girls are probably familiar with that. Those are really popular. You all know Ethereum. You all know Ethereum. Not one of you here is not familiar with Ethereum. I mean, you all know it. Because every single person that knows what Bitcoin is, knows what Ethereum is. They are always side by side, whether it be Coinbase, I don't know, whether it be any kind of crypto trading platform you want, you always see them side by side. So the most popular blockchain platform is Ethereum. The particular cryptocurrency they trade is their Ether on there. This was designed initially to be the primary token. The token is the medium of exchange. Ether was designed to be the primary token of the Ethereum blockchain of this DeFi. So like that was its intention. That was its intention, its target. By May 2021, which is not too long ago, it's 3 months ago, there was a market cap of 500 billion already for it. So it's obviously growing. It's obviously moving pretty quickly, right? So it's there, it exists. So let's just really quickly go through the pros and cons, right? So why am I so excited over this concept of decentralized finance? More so than just my political ideology of being free market, laissez-faire, get the government out and the Fed. More so than my political ideology. Why do I love this so much, right? So what are the pros and what are the cons? So, I mean, the pros, it's permissionless. You don't need permission from a bank to trade anything. You don't need permission from any institution to sell something. You don't need the big banks and, big corp telling you what you can and can't do with your money. You have your own money. You're an investor in this decentralized finance system. You happen to have a large chain of funds that you'd like to do. You can do as you please. It's yours. But, with that, you fall on your sword, which will be one of the cons. I don't really think it's a con, but you Americans will. Accessibility to third parties. So here's another big thing, and I listen, at the end of the day, I do not do these things to be altruistic. I do not do these things for charity. This is about making money. But it if we explain it in this way, it makes more sense. Okay. It opens up streams of revenue and currency to those that would have generally would have never had this opportunity. You can get people in Cambodia, you can get people in third world nations, you can get people that would have never had access to this kind of money to them before, and now suddenly you could have this kind of access to them. You could have this kind of, they have access to this kind of money because it's decentralized. It's not dependent on a large hub and spokes. It's, you know, so while somebody would be like, yeah, I want to bring money. No, I want to bring money to, you know, I don't know, give me a poor country. I can't think of a poor country now, but I want to bring money to this poor country. I don't, like, honestly, if that's your goal, you're going to lose money very quickly. Now, if you want to use like the manpower, and you know, the person power, you know, I'm trying to be fair over here. You want to use the manpower in these several countries, you bring the money, they move money, they go shop, they move economy, they build things. That makes sense because you're making a return on it, right? So basically this opens up a whole new area of consumer for you to basically exploit and make money on, you know, and build a business on and build your career and make your money on. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's what the free market does, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Also, immutability. This is one thing that's very critical. It's just simply more secure than money. It's just simply more secure than regular paper money than currency you have going on. You simply are just not hacking bank systems. I mean, you're simply just not hacking DeFi systems. I mean, they get hackers left and right, but I mean, okay, they have intruders, but they go, nothing happens. You know, you have, you know, cryptography, you have consensus algorithms. I mean, they have systems in place that protect these funds. So sure, people could hack all they want, but they're not going anywhere, you know? So the big banks, you know, big banks have a real risk, you know? You can get, I see it all the time. Money gets transferred all the time out of nowhere through social engineering, through other fraudulent, you know, schemes that happen, right? So, I mean, you don't have this kind of risk with these kind of like intrusions and everything. So, I mean, that's a very good thing. I mean, I guess some of the cons, I mean, would be, you know, uncertainty. You know, you Americans like safety. You don't like uncertainty. You know, the value of your investment obviously is going to be volatile in a situation like this. And then plus, like, if the government really wanted to crack down on, you know, liquidity, you're probably going to wind up having a problem pretty quickly in a DeFi marketplace. That's one thing. It's missing a lot. So there goes the liquidity concerns. So if the government, I don't know, China tomorrow says we're not going to have, you're not going to be able to cash out these, then you have a big liquidity issue on your hand. You know, they will have effectively like disturbed the blockchain completely. Also, you know, another thing that I don't think is an issue, but others will, protections are missing, right? So if you make a bad transfer, if you transfer to the wrong person or whatever the case is, I mean, you transfer anonymously, you won't get your money back. It's you make a mistake, you'll suffer the consequences of your mistake. So you need to not be careless. I don't particularly think that's a problem. Many will. The only probably forecasters might have a problem with DeFi, because the big thing with DeFi is you have an inability to scale your projects just by the nature of an inability to scale. Because if you don't have a centralized force that you could like review, that you could accurately try to predict, if you don't have a centralized body, if you just really have like these numerous decentralized financial institutions, you have an issue. You can't really, it's tough to scale. And for someone who's looking down the road trying to plan ahead, it's very hard to try to plan ahead when you're unable to scale. So that's a reality, you know, those are the reality you have to deal with. But I mean, obviously, look, again, we've had this conversation. I am pro laissez-faire. I am pro free market. I don't see anything at all wrong with this. I think that this should be controlled by people. You know, people should be in greater control of their finances, should be in greater control of their great decision making. And I shouldn't have to worry about, you know, big banks. I shouldn't have to worry about, you know, the Fed, you know, my business partner, the federal government. I shouldn't have to be worried about their involvement. So, look, this is a very long video. Sorry for a long video. I try to keep these things shorter, but I don't know. Sometimes I can't. It's a very exciting topic. You know, I really like this topic. I really like this concept of decentralized finance. I like this concept of non-fungible tokens. I like this concept of getting the government out of your friggin' hair so you can actually make money and do things with your money and be successful in life. Because there's no reason why, because you will be desensitized, you will be de-incentivized to be successful when your business partner, the federal government, wants 30-40% anyway all the time because they just suck. So, you know, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed these series of videos. You know, I want you to all subscribe, you know, click like, click subscribe, whatever YouTube says you got to do it, because you probably should subscribe. It's really cool. I'll continuously deliver content, and if I get a certain amount of subscribers, then, you know, then I could really start delivering content, because then these kind of things get monetized, which is pretty cool. I didn't even notice that. I'm about to go make a bunch of videos today because I just found out about that stuff. So, you know, look, hope you enjoy these things. Name of the video one more time was DE equals MC squared, DE equals FI squared, DE equals FI squared, Decentralized Finance, Simplified by Mileti Law. This is Mileti Law. I am Vinny Mileti, the owner, founder, partner of the strongest law firm in existence. Well, we don't win in the courtroom, we're in the parking lot outside, and whether it be the courtroom or the gym, whether it be the, the courtroom or the gym room, we're always picking up the heaviest weight, baby. So, look, we wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day. Yours in laws, loves, and lift. Vinny Mileti here. Subscribe to the channel, join the newsletter, get free stuff, do cool stuff, and let me know what's going on in your life. Leave comments, insults. I don't really care. It's a free country. Peace out.